Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Happy birthday to you. You live in a zoo. You look like a monkey. And you smell like 1, 2. I say.
Hello and welcome back to the Monday Movie Show DVD and Blu-ray part of the show. Coming up after the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, we will have reviews of these movies.
No Booger, no giant robots this week. We have British horror film Storage 24, Red Tails, produced by... Is it produced by George Lucas?
I believe so, unfortunately.
Yeah, the 5-year engagement, which when you hear the review, it felt like it went on for 5 years. Detachment, The Hunter, Break, and this week's DVD alternative is The Social Network.
Yeah, just to explain that to anyone who isn't listening live and wondering what it's about, Booger in the chat room has started off this part of the show with any giant robots this week, so no to that.
I've already said that.
I know, but I was just saying. I was explaining it. Let's get into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 with a special note for the movie, which unfortunately hasn't gone in particularly high, but I think Stuart was hoping it to be high because I still haven't seen it yet, annoyingly. Cockneys vs. Zombies in at number 18.
Yeah, I wanted this to go in much higher because it'll not do very well over in the US, and it's nice to see British films go at least in the top 10. Because Cockneys vs. Zombies is one of those movies which does deserve a little bit of recognition. It's a British horror film, and it's a fun British horror film. It doesn't take itself very seriously at all. It's not up there with Shaun of the Dead when it comes to zombie comedies, but it's still a really fun zombie film.
Jump up now to number 10, Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah, which is not a fun film at all. It's a 2-hour bore fest. It's got Kristen Stewart in it, who's useless. She cannot act at all. The best thing about this movie is Charlize Theron, who's really, really playing the Queen like with so much menace. She is by far the best thing about this movie. It's Chris Hemsworth, isn't it, who plays the Huntsman as well. He's a one-dimensional character, and
if you can call him that much.
Yeah, the dwarves don't even crop up in the movie until around about the hour mark, and it's just
I think the dwarfs, considering that there are 7 of them, don't even have one dimension between the 7 of them, let alone 7.
Yeah, the best thing about the movie is it looks pretty decent for the first 45-50 minutes of it. It has a dark kind of menace to it. It just loses all of that completely.
Number 9 is Avengers Assemble,
which I don't know.
Avengers.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell we're going to say anymore about Avengers Assemble. We've said too much about it. If you haven't seen it, then you must be living under a rock, and how the hell are you listening to this show?
Number 8 is Red Lights, new entry this week.
Yeah, it's a weird film, Red Lights. It's an interesting concept of a movie where it decides to... So, it's got Sigourney Weaver in it and Cillian Murphy, who are professors who hunt down these people who are doing paranormal investigations, which are frauds. They are frauds in it. And has Robert De Niro in it as well, who plays this person who supposedly can do paranormal things, and evidently he can't. It's an interesting movie, but it doesn't live up to its premise. The acting is fine. It's a bit of a mess of a film.
I think that it's had the best description of it of this year's Sixth Sense, but not really. It's just it's been tied to that kind of thing, but it's not really. I think is it parapsychologists? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's what they are. Parapsychologists. Yeah.
Number 7, What to Expect When You're Expecting,
which I haven't seen.
Yeah, you are so lucky that you haven't. It's a story about several couples who are all at the stages of, or different stages of, expecting or about to adopt a child. And one thing leads to another, and they all end up coming together because they all know each other, and one person knows someone else, and just really by the end of the film, I just wanted it to end. Please, enough of these parents, kids, these dramas that are just not funny and boring as hell, because they are just really getting on my last nerve. And number 6, a film which I think may be getting on Stuart's last nerve, Wrath of the Titans.
Yeah, I didn't have as much problem with Wrath of the Titans as I did with the first one, Clash of the Titans, because Clash of the Titans is mind-numbingly boring until the last 10 minutes when it has the final battle, and it lasts for about 2 seconds. This has the same problem, but it's slightly more entertaining than that, because the fact that you don't expect anything other than trash. Because that's what it is. It's just a trashy film. It's nowhere near the high well, I wouldn't even say the high standards, but it's nowhere near the standards of the original Clash of the Titan films, with which the special effects were done by Harry. I can't remember his last name. He has that Harry Harryhausen or something like that. Anyway, he's the well-known. Yeah, he's a well-known.
These ones are done by Weta, aren't they?
Yeah, actually, the special effects are done by Weta, which is the best thing about the film. It's just an empty movie, and it's an absolutely brain-dead movie, but I didn't have that much of a problem with this one than I did with the first one.
Number 5 is Mrs. Brown's Boys Series 2.
Please move on, because I hate this programme.
Number 4 is Dark Shadows. You sure you don't want to stay with number 5?
Please move on, because I hate this film. It's Tim Burton just... If he hasn't already killed his directing career, he's just gone and put the biggest nail you've ever seen into the coffin of film. Because it's Johnny... Yeah, I know. It's Johnny Depp on huge, massive cheese factor form. And there is nothing redeemable about this movie at all. It's a really boringly long film. It's not very good.
Tim Burton, how the mighty have fallen. Number 3 is Prometheus.
Yeah, and Booker says he loved Dark Shadows. Girl Rage said she hated Dark Shadows, and I'm with her.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, Prometheus is one of these movies where if you see it for a second time, you'll get more of the film during your second viewing than you will of the first viewing, because you'll probably have gone into that movie thinking it's a prequel to Aliens, and it has a sort of like it belongs in that universe of sorts, but you need to get the Alien series out of your mind when you watch Prometheus. If you watch it as a second on a second viewing, you'll have that out of your mind, and you'll enjoy the movie more, because then you'll realise what Ridley Scott was trying to do with this movie. Yes, it feels like a stepping stone to a sequel, and I really do hope that there is going to be a sequel, and hopefully all signs are pointing to yes. But I liked it more on my second viewing than I did of my first.
Number 2, highest new entry for Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Moobs, I don't hate everything, but I did hate this. That didn't help my cause, that did it.
No, you are kind of stuck on one track record there.
Yeah, it's Timur Bekmambetov, again, like Tim Burton, killing his directing career, because this is not an interesting film at all. It's boring for the most part. The special effects are god-awful. I hate CGI vampires. I have a huge problem with CGI vampires, but that's not the biggest problem in my eyes of this film. It's the use of slow motion.
Slow motion, yeah. Knew that was coming. I don't hate it as much as you do, but I do think this movie is really... it's really getting close to Michael Bay levels of over-the-top use of slow motion.
Yeah, there's a scene which lasts about 2 minutes, and practically the entirety of the scene is in slow motion.
And the number 1, well, not film, but DVD, because I don't even think it's been released on Blu-ray, is Shrek's Thrilling Tales.
Which we haven't a clue what it's about, because it's one of these DVDs that you see at Tesco's for £5 near the checkout. It's coming up to Halloween, kids are seeing it, they don't want candy, they'd rather have something shiny, so they get the parents to buy this, and then they'll just throw it away after Halloween's done. That's why these do so well.
Isn't this it's at least the second or maybe even the third one of these that are just Shrek. Because you've had the Pirates have had one. Pirates and Adventure with Scientists, they've had one. And so has the Dragons things had one as well, isn't it? Or Kung Fu Panda had one.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda's had one. Shrek's had multiple ones. There's another.
Ridiculous.
There is another Shrek one coming out in time for Christmas as well. So,
let's take a break and then we'll go straight into our first of several reviews this evening.
Right, advert. What do I need to say in an advert? Well, I need to say that we're the Gamescast. I need to say that we're on Twitter at the Gamescast. I need to say we're on Facebook. I need to say we've got a website, thegamescast.com, and I need to say we're on YouTube. Oh yeah, and we're on this thing called Spreaker.com. Don't know where that came from. What else? That's probably it. Right, better record it. Oh, crap. That was 30 seconds. The Gamescast. Grown-up gamers talking about games. Allegedly.
Okay, so if I do Storage 24 first, which is a British horror film directed by Johannes Roberts, I think. I don't know if I've
Johannes. It's
Johannes.
actually...
What?
Yeah.
I'm getting his names with like silent letters.
Yeah, he's an English director as well. He's from the UK. He's just a weird first name. Okay.
It's written by Noel Clarke, who stars in the film, amongst the several other people in the film who are all in this warehouse, sort of one of these storage places where you go and you drop off stuff and you have just a storage room. Place called Storage 24, oddly enough, where at the start of the film there is a strange noise, an explosion of some kind, of a noise of some kind. It turns out what appears to have happened is a plane has crashed into London, areas of London, including where this storage house is. As a result of that, things happening like the security shutters are closing on it, people are then trapped inside, and when it also turns out, it seems that something else has also found its way inside the storage house, along with the people there, and is picking them off one by one, and it turns out to be something not of this world. Now, we don't have a clip for this because of the fact of that we weren't sure about it and for time on the show for other things coming up. But basically, this is, well, you know, you see those B movies? Yeah, this is like on the shelf below those. It's got some of the most awful, hammy, over-the-top acting, bad acting that I've ever seen. There's just nothing redeemable in the characters, who most of them are the kind that would sell their own grandmothers just to get a sweet or something. You know, it's the worst kind that there are. There's none of them particularly brilliant actor. Even Noel Clarke, who can do a decent performance when he needs to, just is not even phoning it in on this one. I think he's doing this one by telegram. It's that bad and that boring. There's this thing of there's an alien creature there which has some interesting things to it, but not enough to save the film. I mean, there's a scene in it which I did laugh at, involving a stuffed toy dog, which genuinely did make me laugh, which I wasn't expecting. But other than that, the rest of the film I was boring and I was bored with it. It's shot horribly. There are scenes in it where it's out of focus. Sometimes I think it's been done intentionally, but other times it just looks really poor, shoddy work. And other times there are shots of people's faces where it's like, if it wasn't an HD, I saw a normal version, not an HD version. I swear, if it was an HD version, I would have been able to see the pits in their face because it was so close and you couldn't see what was going on except for like a human eyeball. It's just awful, horrible. I didn't like it. I was bored. I really wanted it to finish quickly, which it did sort of, if you think 87 minutes isn't that long, except for the fact of that it just dragged out for, God, it felt like twice as long as that. And it's awful. And did I say it's awful?
Yeah, Booger says, are the baddies better than Attack the Block? No, they're not, because I've seen this. And no, they're not. The thing I wanted to know is, have you seen any of Johannes Roberts' previous films? He did a film called F. He also did a movie called When Evil Calls. Any of them ring a bell?
I'm just looking at his history. Not that I can remember any of them, no.
Well, let's just say that Storage 24 has the highest production, production on it than any of the films that he's done before.
Okay, then I suspect that I would like all of those even less, because this is just... It's not that it has bad production. It looks okay for what they had. I mean, they've got a storage building. They've got this creature, which... I mean, parts of it look a bit rubbishy. Parts of it look CGI'd. It looks cheap CGI'd. You can tell there is a shot of its mouth or something, which is completely CGI'd. And it's like... It's not a bad design, but it's like it's not an especially original design.
Well, at least the CGI isn't as bad as the ending CGI. That ending is awful. But the film, the ending was almost it actually made me almost laugh at just that's what they ended with. Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with Andy, because I saw this at the cinema and I reviewed it when it came out in the cinema, and I just thought, as a movie, the idea, I was interested in seeing the film. It looked really interesting.
Yeah, but it seems like a really good idea, but it's just not.
No, we don't need a Michael Bay zombie film. We don't need a Michael Bay zombie film, Booger. That's really bad idea.
Booger, no, please. Can you imagine slow motion zombies? It would just be. I mean.
A Michael Bay zombie movie with CGI vampires. Moobs, do you actually want me to go to see any film ever? You actually think that I hate every single film? If that was kind of the movie that was out, I would hate every single film.
I'm just wondering, because in the chat we're getting some really weird. I'm sure I did see earlier. Isn't it a full moon tonight?
I haven't a clue, but there are strange things happening in the chat tonight.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you're not listening to this live, why not? Then you'll be involved in this strange chatter.
Yeah. Let's move on, though, with your review of the next film.
Yeah, Red Tails. It's directed by Anthony Hemingway, and like I said, it's produced by George Lucas. As a matter of fact, he's funded the entire film. So he himself has funded the entire film, which has got a pretty decent budget of some 30 million, isn't it? Somewhere in that region. It has...
I don't know how much it is, actually.
It has an unknown cast in it, apart from two people, Terrence Howard and Cuba Gooding Jr. And now, the premise of the film is very simple. It centers around African-American pilots. It's a crew of African-American pilots who have been segregated off in 1944 Italy from the white side of the American army. And so this group of pilots are they get sent in as either cover for them or escorts. And obviously, they don't want that kind of thing. They want recognition of their own. They want to be able to fight alongside their white counterparts. For example, there is a scene early on in the film which involves these pilots who go and attack this train, and they end up blowing up this train, and they think that they're going to get plaudits for doing that. But then they get put on another duty, which is, again, just an escort mission. And throughout the film, it shows them going on these escort missions, but obviously deviating away from them because they want some of the limelight, doing their own thing by taking down something really important to the German army, and then coming back and watching a video reel of what's happened, and then going out on another mission. Here's a clip just to give you an indication of what the film's like.
Don't never have it breaks on.
Questions, gentlemen.
Does it really matter, sir?
Lights up.
Here we go.
What was your question?
What we do, how well we do it, does it matter?
And you all thought what? You'd sign up, you get shiny boots, a uniform, and that'd be the end of 100 years of bigotry. You're colored men in the white man's army. It's a miracle you're flying fighters in Italy and not mopping latrines in Milwaukee. Any of you feel otherwise, any of you want to wash yourselves out, well, Negro, please do so. I'll have you on the next thing smoking back home to make room for the men who want to stand and fight. Get your head up, son. You're fighter pilots. Watch the rest of the film. Learn something.
Right now, Girl Rage in the chat says they sound like rednecks when in fact they're pilots in 1944 in Italy during the Second World War. Now, if you go on IMDb, you can read plot synopsises of films, and what they do is they give away the entirety of the movie in around about 5 or 6 paragraphs to detail the movie. I just want to read this tiny little bit from the synopsis for Red Tails. The movie also looks a little bit at the men as individuals. We get to know some of their strengths, weaknesses, dreams. One doesn't follow directions and is highly aggressive fighter. One is captured by the Germans, which is not giving much away. One drinks whiskey. A couple die due to combat injuries, etc., etc. Honestly, the description of the movie on the synopsis on IMDb, it perfectly sums up the film. It's dumb. It's extremely dumb. The acting is awful. It's some of the worst I've seen this year because of the fact that the movie itself, it tries to be serious. It is a serious film. It is based on a true story. It is based on a true group of black pilots who were segregated off from the white counterparts, and all they wanted to be done is to be treated exactly the same. And it is true, and what George Lucas and Anthony Hemingway has done here is they've made a farce out of it because the acting is so bad. The movie itself is boring. It follows the exact same set pieces over and over again. There is a set piece, they come back to the base, they watch what they've done, and then they go on to the next bit. And then it follows exactly the same routine for the 2 hours it's on for. It's also way too long. The movie itself is just boring rubbish that should not be watched.
I just want to add, it's extremely predictable from what I remember as well. The last hour of it is just, you know what's coming because typical things happen and set up things that you're just like, oh yeah, okay, you know that, yeah, okay. 5-Year Engagement, which is a comedy drama sort of romance film from Judd Apatow, so you already know what to expect. It's directed by Nicholas Stoller. It's written by Jason Segel, who also stars in the film as Tom, a guy who's been going out with a woman played by Emily Blunt, plays Violet. Two of them have been dating for a year. In New York, where he is working as a trainee chef, doing really well for himself in that position. She is also then looking to try and get into a sort of a grad school to actually become a sort of a learning to be a tutor and get a doctorate at this school. When he then decides that he is going to propose to her, does so, and she accepts. Everything's looking set on track for them getting married soon. They haven't set a date yet, but they're looking into planning. When things turn up, a surprise that Violet gets a offer of a place at another school. Here's a clip.
I got a letter from the University of Michigan.
Okay.
I got in.
Oh my God. Congratulations. That's great.
No, it's not. It's actually terrible. You know, I've been sitting here panicking because my mum quit her job for my dad, and she never forgave him, ever. She became a real martyr. And she's not a happy person, and I just don't want you becoming my mother. I really don't want you becoming like a...
Calm down.
Okay.
Okay, it's you and me.
Yep.
We can handle anything. I'm not scared of this.
I know, I think I'm just scared that you will end up resenting me.
This is a huge opportunity for you. If you don't do this, you're going to end up resenting me, and frankly, I would much rather be the resentor than resented. Look, let's talk logistics. How long is the thing?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, it's long.
It's not. No, it's not.
Really?
In the scheme of us spending our whole lives together, 2 years? That's... And then we can come back here, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just 2 years.
And look, I can cook anywhere.
Right.
I've cooked in New York. I've cooked in LA. I'm pretty sure I can handle Michigan.
So then things end up going a bit more wrong in that department when they end up moving there. Things then take a turn for worse. That 2 years then eventually becomes 5, as the title suggests. And it's all about their relationship, how things are sort of getting more strained between them because of this happening. While all the time as well, there's this ongoing thing of that before they were about to get married, you have... Tom's friend, played by Chris Pratt, and Violet's sister, played by Alison Brie, have essentially got together through the two of them and have a kid, and it's the two of them coming to visit every now and again as well while this is going on. As far as I can tell, really, just so you have an idea of how much time has passed, because aside from that, all there is this ridiculous beard that Jason Segel grows throughout the film to show you, oh look, yeah, he's been there in this place for so long that he has grown a beard. Yeah, and it's a rather weird looking beard as it is anyway. Here's the thing with it. For starters, it is 2 hours and I think it's 2 hours and 4 minutes for the normal version. The Blu-ray contains a longer version, which is 2 hours and 10 or 11 minutes. So it's not much longer, but it is longer.
It's the version I watched.
Yeah, and the thing is that I'm not sure which version it was I watched, but to be honest, there's not that much of a difference with them. But either way, it's too long. 2 hours and 4 minutes. Even the shorter version for a romantic drama is too long. It's more of a drama than it is a comedy. There are comedy elements in it. I did laugh a few times. I will say this. I wasn't completely just bored through the whole thing. There's a couple laughs, but majority of the laughs, when they were trying to be smart, they weren't smart. It was more the sort of physical gags, one involving a crossbow in particular, which even though it's in the trailer, I did laugh because it's kind of a cute laugh moment. And there are those things in there that are definitely Judd Apatow inspired, but it's the characters are annoying. Jason Segel is rather annoying. You have this whole thing of a professor at her school who's played by I can't think of his name.
Rhys Ifans.
Yes, Rhys Ifans, who he's actually pretty good in it. I didn't mind him, although his character was rather loathsome and horrible. And this whole thing, though, of her character seems to be wildly inept and just completely not aware of things. His character seems to be just grumpy and in a bad mood all the time, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. I would have liked it to have been a good half an hour, 40 minutes shorter. It would have been probably a lot funnier because there's lots of breaks in between the attempts to add humour, which are just slowing it down. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. It's not very funny at all, and it's way too long. There is one thing that I did actually find quite funny, and it involved one of the people who's on the course with Emily Blunt. He's a Chinese guy who, his idea of an assignment, he wants to put fake blood on the people, cover them in feathers, give them a gun, and whisper "wake up" into their ear to find out what their reaction would be. And you do see what that reaction would be later on in the film, which is the funniest part of the film in my eyes.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing just now. You reminded me of that, but it's not enough to make it a worthwhile film. I mean, it's from largely the same side of people, same Judd Apatow involved, things like Bridesmaid. It's nowhere near as bad a film as that, but it's just not. That doesn't mean that it's a good film. It's not.
Yeah, let's go on to the next film, Detachment. It's directed by Tony Kaye, who did a film called American History X. This stars Adrian Brody. What he is, he plays Henry Barthas, who's a substitute teacher. He goes to schools, and he's only at a school for no more than a month to take over a class. This time he's being sent to this school where he's told to stay there for a month to take over the English class, and he establishes a relationship with not only the teachers who were there, and the film itself explores the relationship that Henry has with the teachers at this school, but also with this student who has an unhealthy attraction to him at school, and she ends up sort of like drawing this picture of Henry. Here's a clip.
A faceless man in an empty room. Is that how you see me, Meredith?
I don't know how I see you. It's just how I thought of you in the situation. I mean, did you ever think about who your teachers were on the outside? In the real life?
I guess so, yeah. Does this place seem unreal to you?
I watch you around school, and you always seem so sad. Like, maybe you have a hard time with things. And you need someone to talk to.
Yeah, before I go on with the rest of the review, Mr. Moobs in the chat has asked me, is this like School of Rock? Trust me, when I get to what I thought about the film, it's nothing like School of Rock. Now, during the rest of the film, like I said, Henry Barthas not only established a relationship with the teachers at the school, but he also, he sort of becomes friends with this 16-year-old hooker, who then tries to have a relationship with him, and the rest of the movie is not just about him being a teacher, it's merely exploring how he copes with too much stuff that gets forced on his shoulders. Now, the way Tony Kier directs his movies, he has this style where they're quite depressing in a way, because if you look at American History X, which is an absolutely fantastic movie, it does have, it's about neo-Nazis, so it's not about an easy subject. In this movie, it's extremely depressing. There is no bright light down any kind of tunnel in this movie, no matter which character you follow in the film. It has a fantastic cast. It's got Adrian Brody, James Caan's in the movie, so is Christina Hendricks and Lucy Liu, who plays a teacher at the school. Blythe Danner's in the film. Bryan Cranston's even in the movie, which he doesn't show up that much, but he's in the film. And for a cast like that, each actor tries their best with the character that they're given. Adrian Brody is by far the best thing about the movie. He's a really depressed kind of character, and the film itself, if you come away from this movie and you're not depressed, then it hasn't done its job. Because the whole point of this movie is showing you how bad life can be for a substitute teacher like he is. And it's a really depressing movie, but that's not saying that it's a bad film, because it's not. But it's not up there with what Kier did with American History X, because that is a much better film than Detachment is.
Okay, we're coming close on time, so quickly go into The Hunter, which is directed by Daniel Nettheim. It's based on a novel by Julia Lay, who is the character of the movie The Hunter is played by William Dafoe, who is a hunter who's been sent out to the Tasmanian wilderness from a biotech company who sent him on a mysterious mission to collect samples of a supposedly extinct Tasmanian tiger, because of the fact it contains this potential nerve toxin, which could be very lucrative to them if they can patent it and get a DNA copy of it. And when he's there, he's out, and he's sort of being led around by a character played by Sam Neill, who is there leading around unaware of his true intentions. Here's a clip.
What is it you're studying?
Devils.
And why the pests? Still, makes a change.
From what?
Well, we get a lot of tourists this way looking for the Tassie tiger. Reckon I could take a bit of a day trip and find an animal that's been written off as extinct.
What do you think?
I heard one once. I was a kid, I was out trapping with my dad 50 years ago, but I still remember it. Every now and again some clown reckons he sees one, but no one can ever prove it.
So it's one of these films where it's the man out in the wilderness, and most of it is him being out in the wilderness on his own, and dealing with that while he's trying to find this possible tiger, if it still exists or not. And other times are when he's he's staying at this family's home where there's these two kids and the mother, she's basically zonked out of her head on drugs all the time, prescription drugs, and she's basically in a kind of a stupor because of the fact that her husband has disappeared in mysterious circumstances, which may be related to the reason why he's there. I know between us that Stuart doesn't particularly like this film, but for me it is one of my favourite films of the year. I absolutely loved this film. I love the way it's shot. I love the whole character thing of William Dafoe's performance in it, and his character is really something to watch for me. A really great performance. It's something to really check out if you're into these dramas which are all about the guy's performance, because there's literally scenes in it where it's just him out in the wilderness, there's no dialogue, it's just him doing what he does, and it makes for a really interesting watch if you like that kind of thing.
One one quick thing before we go on to the next film. I'm just getting a couple of people saying that they might have heard us swear during that clip. Now, I'm going to listen back to the clip once the show is finished to see if a swear has occurred. If it has, Andy is going to get shouted at like I did last week, but there was a big swear in this one. So, we'll see.
I may try and listen to it while the show's ongoing, while you're doing this review.
Yeah, well, just one quick thing about The Hunter. I didn't hate it. I thought it was really well acted by William Dafoe, who I think is a director who creeps the hell out of me. But he's really good in the film. He's acting really good. It's just an average film in my eyes. Right, final film of the night, Break. It's directed by Gabe Torres and it stars Stephen Dorff. It's one of these high-concept movies. It's a small movie, but it's got a high concept. Stephen Dorff plays this character who, during the film, you find out exactly what he is. He wakes up inside this glass coffin inside the trunk of a car, and on the roof of this glass coffin is a timer, and it counts down constantly. He discovers that he's in this coffin because he holds a secret of some kind that relates to the President of the United States that these people want. Now, that's all I can give away, because if I give anything else away about the story, it will obviously give too much away about the film, and it'll spoil the film for you. Now, it's a high-concept movie because the film itself is mainly shot in the trunk of the car. It's very similar to a film called Buried, which had Ryan Reynolds in it, which saw Ryan Reynolds in a coffin underground and him trying to obviously survive. Now, I can see what the director has gone and done. He's seen that film, Buried, and thought, I can do that movie because it's a small scale budget that they'll need, and that's it. And the film itself, unfortunately, does not work because there is no tension in it whatsoever. The tension is completely gone in the movie. Stephen Dorff tries his best, but his character is a bit one-dimensional. Nothing in the movie that happens, you think, actually, this is quite tense. I feel really sorry for him. I hope he gets out this glass case. It just loses any tension during the movie, and it's not interesting at all. It's a small concept movie, but it's just boring from the minute that it starts to the minute that it ends. And trust me, it has one of the worst twists in a film I have ever seen. At the end of the film, it has this twist, and then instead of the director leaving it, he decides to twist the twist. And it's really bad. And now people, please don't start doing the twist, because no, honestly, it's a bad film with a really, really bad double twist.
Just to say on that, because while I was listening to that, but I also part of that was trying to listen to the clip from The Hunter. I do believe what people are thinking is another word is when he says, because he's talking about why you're really here, and he says about devils. And he says, I don't know why they're pests. I think that's why, but because it's said with an Australian, New Zealand kind of accent, it sounds like another word.
Yeah.
So okay. I think that's what happened there. But I'll just go quickly on to our alternative for this week, which is The Social Network, which is David Fincher's film about the whole Facebook thing with Mark Zuckerberg being played by Jesse Eisenberg in a script from the master himself, Aaron Sorkin. It's one of these films that I'm going to go through quickly because we're running out of time, but it's a fantastic drama which is kind of below David Fincher's skill set because he is a very visual director, but it's a really well done film. It's a great drama. It deserved and did win loads of Oscars for it, and it's about the whole thing of how Mark Zuckerberg came about creating the social networking site that has become the example for all social networking, and the problems he's had during that and after that, leading up to the whole thing of lawsuits that he had that were played against him and stuff. So it's a really good film, really well acted, especially by Jesse Eisenberg. Rooney Mara's in there as well, who she then went on to be in David Fincher's more recent film Girl with Dragon Tattoo. You have in there Andrew Garfield, who's really good in there as well, and surprisingly as well, you have in there
Justin Timberlake.
Yes, that's the one, and he's really good in the film, surprisingly as well. He's not in it a lot, but when he is in there, he gives as good as the other actors. So it's a really enjoyable film and one of my favourites. As I say, I mean, I'm a David Fincher fan, so I'm maybe a bit biased. That is the show for this week. Thank you for tuning in live if you have. If not, thank you for listening to us. However else you've listened, YouTube, iTunes, catch up on the site or SoundCloud, different places like that. Please feel free to check out the site, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. There's always updates going on there during the week. Catch up links on there, trailers, news information, things like that. We will be back next Monday at 7:30 again. We are also back this Wednesday, so only 2 days. We are back with a Halloween special, looking at all things Halloween. And we'll be giving away some DVDs and Blu-rays during that as well, which you need to be in the UK. You need to be over 18 years of age to enter. But until then, you can also check us out, as I say, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. Feel free as well to check out our good friends Mark and followingthenerd.com. And we're part of the Podgods Network as well, which is podgodnetworks.com. So until next Monday at 7:30, we hope you've had fun listening to us as we have had trying to do the show. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
I'm so glad you didn't ask me for Movie of the Week. Like I said, I'm so glad you didn't ask me for Movie of the Week, because I would have struggled.
Yeah, I mean, I could have, but I mean, what we got? Skyfall. You're not going to say Skyfall. I mean, it would be Skyfall in cinema for me, or The Hunter on DVD for me. But you're like, what are you going to say? You're going to say Stories 24?
Yeah, Skyfall. Skyfall is probably the best, so that's why I'm glad, right?